stress doesn't actually cause insomnia, at least not on its own. It's only the trigger. What determines whether or not you end up with insomnia is how your mind and your body respond to those first sleepless nights. And that's the difference between people who move on through the stress and then those of us who end up caught in weeks, months, sometimes even years of poor sleep. I'll share with you why that happens and how to begin unraveling it if you stay with me until the end. Most of us can point to a time when it all began, a breakup, a job loss, or financial worry, or maybe even just a season of overwhelming stress. That stress makes sleep harder. Of course it does. You lie awake, and then your mind is replaying all the worries of the day. And maybe for a few nights, you barely sleep. The next day is brutal. You feel foggy and irritable, and it feels almost impossible to even function. And then that fear of how will I get through tomorrow if I don't sleep tonight, it starts to build. And that fear is very real because you've lived it. Your body remembers it. And that's where the story begins to shift. Here's the part most people miss. We all go through stressful situations, but not everyone develops insomnia. Why is that? It comes down to how we respond to those first sleepless nights. Some people, once that stressful event passes, they can just fall back into their old rhythm, and then their body recalibrates. But for sensitive souls and deep thinkers, people who give every thought equal gravity, something else happens. Instead of letting the rough nights pass, we start to panic. We analyze. We start giving those sleepless thoughts more weight than they deserve. And when we do that, we actually wire the problem deeper. That's why two people can go through the same stress and only one of them ends up with long-term insomnia. The original trigger, that job loss, the breakup, or the financial stress, it might fade, but that pattern remains. Now, the struggle isn't about that stress anymore. It's about the fear of sleep itself. Night becomes a test. Will I sleep tonight? What if I don't? The bed starts to become a place where your brain associates stress and worry and performance, not rest. And then that cycle feeds itself. The turning point is this. Insomnia is never solved by forcing sleep. It begins to heal once you break that fear response loop. So this means accepting that rough nights are temporary and allowing rest in whatever form it decides to come in. And also using practices that retrain the mind. So things like hypnosis, journaling, mindfulness. That way, your brain learns new instructions instead of replaying old patterns. Sleep is something you invite in, not something you control. So if you're in this space where stress turned into sleepless nights, in sleepless nights, turned into fear of more sleepless nights. You're not broken. You're just caught in a loop. And what was learned can be unlearned. In my last video, I shared 5 gentle and proven rituals that help create these conditions for sleep. I'll link it here so you can explore that next. And if this perspective resonates at all with you, subscribing is the easiest way to stay connected as I share many more ways to step out of the insomnia cycle. Rest is so much closer than you think. Rest well.